Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Some new tools to help you garden this year. Now, Fiskars pruners for small hands are actually a great pair of pruners. They will cut up to 5/8 inch diameter branches. The cutting blade is, of course, coated so that it slips through the branch a lot easier. It has a comfort non-slip grip, and it is designed for people with smaller hands, which means that if you've got a teenager or a young person who wants to get out there and do some pruning, these ones would be great. These are also great. I like them because they also fit my hand as well. The handle is, of course, a comfort grip. Now, the other thing is that if you have strength issues, this pair of pruners will limit you to the size of branches that you're doing. But at the same time, the lock on it is a big button, and it's at least an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter across. Okay? And you just simply push one way or push the other to lock and unlock. Makes it very easy if you have strength issues, if you have arthritis, etc. So if you have these things and these issues, this pair of pruners just might fit into your gardening plans for this year. The other thing is, remember, it's composite. That means it's strong like metal, but the fiber composite doesn't get hot and it doesn't get cold in your hands. So spring and fall, it's not a cold piece of steel you got in your hand. So that's always a good thing too, particularly when you're sensitive to cold in your hands, etc. Now, probably the newest one that's really got my poor heart beating is a saw. Okay. Now, this is a folding hand saw, and I must have at least 4 or 5 different kinds. What I like about this one is that it's a 10-inch folding saw with, of course, tri-cut teeth. That means it will cut on the full forward thrust as well as on the back cut. Okay, no problem. So that's a good saw. But it locks open and it locks closed. Good. It's still good. It's got a comfort grip handle on it, which makes it soft with a curve. That curve is important because the blade locks into the normal position, but it also locks backwards. In other words, it will continue to actually fold open and over. And with that curve at the bottom, it's ergonomic, and you can use it upside down and do your undercut. Now, for those of you who know how to do proper target pruning, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You don't want the bark to rip. You're taking down a big limb. You don't make your final cut and let the whole thing drop. You do it in stages and in sections. So what you do is you go and you do your undercut first, and then you go out beyond your first undercut, turn the saw back into its regular configuration, and cut it down and drop off all the weight. You keep doing that until you get down to your final cut. And the final cut at a trunk is in a set position. This does not change. This is where Mother Nature says you should cut each and every branch. Don't do it any other way. So, first of all, turn the saw upside down again by turning the blade backwards, not turning the saw upside down, and where the branch becomes cylindrical is your bottom cut. Where the crotch is, there's a rough bark on there, and that's the bark ridge. On the outside of the bark ridge, you turn your saw into the regular configuration, and you start there, and you go and you angle it down to the bottom cut that you just made. When you drop it, the bottom cut prevents the bark from stripping beyond, and of course, you've got this nice cut somewhere around 30 to 40 degree angle. This shoulder is where Mother Nature goes and kills the branch off anyways. On a dead branch, this is where it starts to grow from. So what you're doing is you're removing exactly where Mother Nature wants you to do, and this speeds the healing. Remember, when you have a big old tree come down, it's been improperly pruned, and the stub, okay, which was beyond this point where you've got it target pruned, rots, and it continues all the way down the tree to the ground. That makes that weak. That makes it hollow. It makes it rotten. And of course, winds and ice and snow, guess what? Your big old tree comes down because it's structurally weak. Why? Because somewhere along the line, somebody didn't prune that branch correctly. And I have seen it, and I have seen it all my life. So be aware, do your target pruning, get a Fiskars folding saw, the 10-inch that actually folds backwards, and enjoy. And it's got a nice grip on it so that it does resist slippage as well. Now, there is also the very nice weeding tool. Now, the Power Weeder is a little shorter than the old model. It's got a nice handle on it. It pulls, okay? And, of course, with the stainless steel teeth, it takes out a little smaller divot than the old one. And you can shoot the divot out, okay? This makes it fun, okay? So you can shoot the divot out into the bag that you're putting all your weeds into. And, you know, it's more fun, okay? There's a little more fun when weeding is always a good thing. So by doing that, you're going to take out a smaller divot. If you're working in clay soil, remember the clay has to be just the right moisture, not overly wet. And of course not dry, because then it's like brick and you'll never get that weed out, nor will you get the weeder in. But that's what you can do with the Fiskars Power Weeder. You'll also find that there is the old, more traditional weeder. Now, I want one of these. I haven't got one of these yet. I've played with one of these, but I don't own one of these. But first of all, the hand weeder is in the big grip line. It comes with a coated steel blade, which goes down to a forked tip. That means it's like those old traditional fork-tipped weeders. Okay, the right side of the fork tip has been sharpened down. It's as sharp as any knife, and it moves on up that same right side to a serrated edge that's about 3.5 inches long. The other side has been thinned down. It's not as sharp, but it is sharper. And it comes up to a guard. Now, this is a steel guard, which prevents your hand from sliding down onto that blade. Good idea. And, of course, it's got the slip-resistant handle, which is tapered down to the guard. So you grab it, even with a small hand like mine, and your hand is at the grip, and you've got power. You've got the guard there to help push, and you can use it backwards, you can use it forwards and get weeds out, cuts a few roots, and basically you could even use this one to plant some of your smaller transplants, though I think bigger ones I'd be using a bigger trowel. And that one is kind of cool. It's the Fiskars weeding knife, and I'll want one, okay? The other one that's been around a long time, and I'm strongly recommending this one for a lot of people who have issues with strength, but also for kids who actually want to do real work in the garden. The fiber composite trowels and tools are made of fiber composite, which means no metal, very very lightweight, strong. And because the handle is a little smaller, it fits larger children and adults with smaller hands, but also it's very nice in the fact that the way it's designed, you can use it backwards, you can use it forwards, and the trowel is very, very lightweight and strong. So unless you're trying to dig in heavy clay, this is, which you probably shouldn't be doing anyways if you have issues with strength, that you should be taking a look at. Again, fiber composite, when you're using a trowel, it's usually spring and fall, etc.